I'm AJ Fisher, your host and creator of the Hypoxix method. And with me today, we are so lucky, speaking of dance, is Erica Hornthal. Erica is an unbelievably inspirational individual. She is known as the therapist who moves you. She is a board certified dance movement therapist and licensed clinical professional counselor. She is the founder and CEO of Chicago Dance Therapy and creator of the Dance Therapy Advocate Summit. As a licensed talk therapist, Erica knows that words only get us so far, whereas if we're willing to tap into its power, the body can take us the rest of the way as we process emotions and strengthen our mental health. Erica is spearheading this movement by moving you. Dance movement therapy comes in, providing the structure and space for people to truly listen to their bodies. This practice isn't about being a perfect dancer, and it's not just a way to let loose and have fun. It's about learning that movement is life. Our movements influence our thoughts, which influence our behavior, which makes us who we are. And there are so many things that I love about that bio. I am a former professional dancer. I moved to New York to be be on Broadway. And then I was on Broadway for several years and I pounded the pavement for 10 years. And I can't tell you how much I miss it. And I'm reintegrating it into my workouts on many levels because I can see and feel those differences in cognition with the application of just that short-term memories, the short-term memory, the reactive skills and all of those things that, that come into play with dance. Can you please tell me about your history? Hi, Erica. First of all, welcome, Erica. It's amazing. No, it's really amazing, and I'm so excited to hear your story. So tell us of of your background in dance and how it led you to be the therapist who moves you, the dance movement therapist. It's so exciting.
Honestly, the therapist who moves you was kind of an afterthought. I started my practice Chicago Dance Therapy because as a therapist, I was actually hitting a lot of roadblocks. I wanted to be in private practice. I didn't necessarily want to be in my own practice, but 15-ish years ago, somatics wasn't trending. It wasn't the hot topic that it seems to be now. Um, and for me to really push that agenda, um, I don't know, maybe it was a little naive, but I really wanted to practice what I spent time and money, honing. And it took me in the direction of opening my own practice. And the catchphrase, kind of the byline for my company is the therapy that moves you. And so one day I had a colleague or friend that was like, "Oh, you're kind of the therapist who moves you, huh?" I was like, "Cool. Yeah." And it's like, "Oh, maybe that should be my handle on Instagram." And then, the rest is history. But how I got into dance movement therapy was just I had a passion for dance. I knew that I didn't necessarily have the skill set, the expertise, the technique to be a professional dancer in the capacity that my mind thought that meant, right? Going to New York, dancing on Broadway, maybe in a musical theater capacity, but as a dancer alone, there's no way. I just could not compete with the talent that's out there. But I wasn't ready to let dance go. And when I realized that one, not only was dance my therapy growing up, but that I could use dance as a catalyst to promote emotional health and well-being, I was sold. So somebody told me about the field. I got my master's as a dance movement therapist and a counselor. And yeah, opened my own practice and almost 15 years, here we are.
I know it's so exciting. And one of the reasons that I've seen your work on social media, and I know that's just a tiny slice of what you do and just the things you talk about. And I'm so passionate about the work that you do because there's always a certain percentage of all of the workouts that I do with my online clients that I call attentional control. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of attentional control just in the world of psychology and also sports psychology. And I called these warm up agility patterns attentional control patterns because I found that it was really important to give a client some kind of combination pattern, like some kind of a pattern, whether it was punch your arm out on your seventh step for 10 times in a row, or stay on the beat while you exhale for, for 10 seconds, and then constantly throw different combinations at them. So they had to stay on their toes. And, these type A, the really successful individuals who I'm, training here in New York, they always have so much pressure on them and so much on their mind. And so I found it so successful to give them a combination of something that they had to meditate on to succeed at it. And they had to let everything else go in the moment. And so I found that really fascinating. And then I also love the concept of being able to train attention and train focus within movement, by performing a combination of cardio and strength movements, and having to and being able to progressively work on the length of time that that person can hold their attention on those things. And in sports psychology, we do see that attentional control exercises actually can transfer to your attention outside the room when you're not working out. And so I love that concept and I'm passionate about it. And so I put it into all of my workouts, and, and it really, and I'm curious as to some of the patterns or the exercises that you use with your patients. And if you're using any of these exercises to train attention, and what other areas of cognition that you're training with the exercise. And I'm sure that we could probably go on for hours. I just laid out like a really like wide girth for you. And what parts of the brain are you training with your exercises? You're like, every part, and here's the list. But you can just kind of tell us the ones that you're most passionate about and why.
Sure. Well, when it comes to the word cognition, it's interesting because I started my work mostly using movement therapy with individuals that had some type of cognitive decline. So a lot of my clients had dementia, more specifically Alzheimer's. And it's kind of ironic because I think as a society, we don't expect them to have attention or focus. We expect that it's going to decline, it's going to degenerate. And we just don't have a lot of expectations, period, which is sad and disappointing to say the least. So whether it was intentional or not, because I don't go in and say, we're going to work on focus today, we're going to work on attention. What I actually want to work on is connection, communication, quality of the moment, presence, joy, connection, period, relationship. Actually, focus and attention became a byproduct because as we're dancing and engaging in some type of movement listening or dancing to music, all of these areas of the brain are coming online. And we are building connectivities, neuronal pathways, which does enhance this neuroplasticity, right? Enhances our brain's ability to function and not just be present, right? But actually attune, attend, right? And even make decisions. So that's one thing that kind of popped into my mind. But the first thing that you said that really stood out to me was you said on your toes. So when it comes to actual footwork, because I don't actually dance a lot with my clients, it's really about using movement to help connect to our mental health, to help embrace the mind-body connection. I find that footwork can be really helpful because not only does it, as you mentioned, like kind of throw a wrench in things, it breaks the cycle. It breaks this mundane autopilot of same thing all the time. And we have to change up our workouts, right? Because otherwise our muscles and our minds get complacent. And so this idea of breaking the cycle through fast movement, syncopated movement, fancy footwork, so to speak, and this ability to keep us on our toes is actually, for me, what I find boosts resilience. So again, when it comes to this mental health aspect of moving our bodies, the more we move, the more we have the capacity to feel and to manage what comes at us. So while I don't necessarily bring clients in and have them, match a fancy pattern or, I don't choreograph anything for them, we will play with things like space and time, offbeat, onbeat, rhythm, kinds of things like that. And it takes them out of their comfort zone. They end up moving faster than they're used to or slower than they're used to. And this intentionality with footsteps and walking or pacing really has this ability to connect to not just how they're moving in the studio, but how they move in the world. And that's where the change really happens.
It's so fascinating, and I love that you brought up the work that you've done with with Alzheimer's patients, dementia, individuals with cognitive decline. I've even worked with some individuals who suffer post concussive symptoms, and just
Hmm.
a lot of the work that I do is also breath training and working on carbon dioxide threshold for increased cerebral blood flow in conjunction, with the attentional control patterns. And we've seen some really interesting things there. But I think it's just so amazing, all of the research that's just there that shows that Alzheimer's patients can improve their symptoms by participating in ballroom dancing, some kind of dancing. The research on dance and Alzheimer's is really incredible. Even reversal of some symptoms and looking at reduction of amyloid beta plaques. I mean, it's insane. And
Yeah.
have you been inspired by that, influenced by that research?
I think I've been inspired maybe in spite of research, right? Because there's still a lot of research lacking. And I think certainly with regard to dance therapy and Alzheimer's, but in general, dance is often seen as like it's additive, it's artsy, it's skillful, it's technique. And I think while that can help, we also need to look at dance as just a means of expression. And dance becomes the platform for which these individuals can speak when words alone are not enough, or when words are not there, right? We're losing that ability to speak what we need or how we feel. That comes through in movement, that comes through in the body. So I'd love to see more qualitative studies. I think we end up seeing a lot of quantitative ones, but it's hard to qualify, right? It's hard to
Exactly.
to ask these people how they're feeling and what they're doing because they often can't tell us. So I think more research needs to be done, but I think the research that is there, especially in the field of dance movement therapy, has been beautiful, moving, necessary, and that it shows that there is potential. There's potential for these individuals until they take their last breath. And that just because they're not moving or acting the way we know them to or think they should, that it's not a behavior. It's actually a way that individuals are trying to communicate and trying to stay connected in a world that often does not make a lot of sense anymore or isn't meant for them because it's not accessible to them.
Absolutely. And I love the work that you're doing with those patients, working on dance as a means of expression and as a new language for them. For those individuals who now have deficits in certain areas of the brain where they can't communicate with language as we know it, or in the same at the same level, but can still communicate, maybe still at the same level with movement, and you're teaching them this language. And so if you're teaching someone to communicate be feeling happy or feeling sad, are there standard movements that you will teach to communicate those emotions, or is it really unique to the individual?
Well, it's unique to the individual with regard to how the nuances, right, and the characteristics of their movement come together, like a signature, right? So it's like a movement signature, and just like you could look at someone from behind and be like, "Oh, that's Sally," or "Oh yeah, I can, I know that walk from a mile away." It's like people have an imprint, right? They have this signature about them that oftentimes only changes either if there's a, personality change, if there's a physical or biological change, or if there's, intentional, like, I want to change this pattern about myself. So it's not always about teaching a movement. It actually ends up being about me meeting them in their movement because their toe tap or their hand raise to me might mean something. I might make meaning of that. But when I meet them in their reality and I move with them, I start to understand or get an idea of maybe what it is they need or they're looking for. And it's different. It's a different way of being. It's not new in the sense that there are a lot of therapists who or coaches or practitioners that do this work that understand it. It's different from kind of the medical model, right? Where we're so used to putting movement on, oh, this hurts, stretch that, right? Or don't move it at all. Whereas here we're saying, well, what movement's present? What movement is happening in this person? And can I recognize the characteristics or the nuances of it that might suggest, pain, discomfort, agitation, joy, pleasure. Maybe their affect is so flat that visually I can't tell what they're feeling. And so I really have to look at the body. How are they showing what they're feeling? And while at the same time trying not to judge or make too many assumptions, because we will make assumptions. But if the assumption or the underlying request is I go in with curiosity, I go in just trying to form a connection or a bond or just be present to that person's needs in their body, then to me every opportunity is a success. There's no failed attempt, there's no negative situation. It's an opportunity to help them improve their quality of life and to help them feel understood and validated.
It's really exciting, and it seems like you're being so exploratory with your patients. And so simply the exploration of searching what their movement expression is to, as you move with them. And I'm sure that you moving with them is so helpful to also draw out that movement. So many individuals are self-conscious when it comes to movement. And so I think that's why many people might even shy away from something like a dance movement therapy, thinking, oh, I'm like the stress that I feel from even imagining that I'm moving my body and just feeling self-conscious would limit their movement. But if you're moving with them and you've learned to move with individuals in a certain way so that they have a higher level of comfort, then they'll come back for a second visit, and then a third, and then they start to actually be able to express themselves. And just that therapy of moving with another individual, it seems like it would be really effective.
Yeah, because, oftentimes I say, like, well, let's just look at the movement that is happening. So you say that you're not comfortable moving or expressing yourself or dancing. It's like, okay, I understand that. There's sometimes that I feel self-conscious about how I'm moving or how I'm dancing in a room. I still love it. But I can say, well, how do you notice that you're moving in this moment? And is it working for you? Oh, I don't feel my body. Okay, well, how does that help you, right? How does that impact you on a daily basis? Or, I'm just feeling so tight. I feel so frozen. Oh, okay, well, does that make it difficult to function throughout your day? And I have yet to hear someone say, no, I'm fine.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
no, the freeze response really works for me. I'm okay. I mean, it helps us survive, but it doesn't help us thrive. So I think, again, anybody that's hesitant or says, oh, this isn't for me, or I'm too afraid, it's like, well, just look at the movement that's already happening or not happening. That's the way in. So while my clients with dementia, often like that filter was gone, they were dancing like nobody was watching. It didn't really matter. People that were early in their diagnosis, or again, people that I work with that don't have dementia, have that self-conscious filter of like, this might not look good, or I look stupid, or are you going to judge me? That kind of goes out the window when they realize they're the ones judging themselves, and that like, I'm just here to witness and support whatever needs to happen. You can dance like no one's watching. You can dance like you have two left feet. It's all you. It's all you. You're bringing yourself into the room. That's where the work has to start, right? So if I were to come in and say, move like this, do that, I might not be validating or supporting where this person is. And maybe work would still happen, but my guess is they'd still be spinning their wheels.
Absolutely. It's so exciting. And so much research has also shown, and I know, to your point about we need more qualitative studies. Yes, for sure. But, just citing some of the quantitative studies, just looking at how, performing dance, just dancing in general, lights up other areas of our brain that would seemingly not be related to dance. Like being
Right.
able to recognize sound, or emotional areas of the brain, or areas of the brain that are controlling the amount of adrenaline that are pumped through our body because of signals sent to the adrenals. I mean, it's just, and so I think to your point, not enough research has been done yet, because I think we're
Right.
skimming the surface. And so I think it's exciting for us individuals who have a passion for dance, and we know that there's something massively there that can make a massive change in our clients and in our patients' lives. And so we're exploring, and we're basing it on the research that is there, to make it
Yeah.
to invite people in, to
Yeah, we have
confirm
to
that it's
start
been valid,
somewhere.
to start somewhere. Exactly. And then I'm really
Exactly. We
moving
have
with
to start
that.
somewhere.
It's really exciting. And
Um, I think
do
it
you
just
add
shows how
breath work?
far
Oh, I'm
we've
sorry.
gotten
Go
from
ahead.
dance. No, I was just gonna say, I think it shows how far we've gotten from our own inherent need to dance. Like that's our first means of expression and communication. It's why often so many little kids are put into a creative movement class or dance class, right? It's like, oh, look, he loves to move. Oh, look, she loves to twirl.
Yes.
And then at some point we just, oh, well, you're not a dancer, right? This isn't going to be your livelihood. You don't have the skill set to do that. And then we just shut down our bodies completely and expect that the mind is going to be the thing that heals us entirely. And that's not true. Like we have to be able to tap back into the body to do that. So yeah, dance. I mean, there's studies that show even watching dance can help evoke emotions you know that participating in dance would do as well. So it's very intriguing. It's very interesting. I still think there's a ton of research to be done, but we're on our way.
Absolutely, yes. And I was actually just reading it, I think, an article in New York Times that was talking about sitting at the Joyce Theater and watching a dance company and looking at the changes in physicality and also, in the mind and anxiety from watching the dance. And I think there was one study also done where they looked at the relationship between the heart rate and the respiration rate between the audience members and the dancers, which I thought was a really interesting look at the coherence between someone watching the dance and someone performing the dance, and that as a means of therapy,
Yeah, it's definitely therapeutic. And I mean, it speaks to the mirror neurons in our brain. Our bodies mirror other bodies. And so there's therapeutic aspects to that. There are also very dysregulating aspects to that as well. So it's just, really, again, something that I think needs more attention. And I expect we'll have a lot more research as time goes on.
Absolutely. It's really exciting. And I'm so excited about your practice. And please tell the viewers and the listeners where they can find out more about you and, what's going on with you right now.
Sure. Well, if people are interested in connecting like personally to me, you can either reach out through my website. It's ericahornthal.com. As we mentioned at the beginning, I tend to be most active on Instagram. And so my handle there is The Therapist Who Moves You. I love to have conversations. You can direct message me. Yeah, I'm pretty accessible. So I really enjoy when people reach out and either have questions or just say like, hey, this is really helpful. Or do you have something else, along this line? I don't obviously give like therapy over the internet, but there's always little tips and tricks. And then with that being said, I just published my first book a couple weeks ago, actually, called Body Aware. And so if people are like, oh, this is interesting, I want to know more about one, dance therapy, but two, how I can kind of connect my mind and body and embrace simple movement practices to start improving my mental health, that would be a great place to start. It's, available wherever books are sold, or you can get it online.
That's so exciting. And congratulations, by the way. What a huge accomplishment. That is so exciting. Well, I'm sure that some of the viewers and listeners are certainly going to be interested in that. There's many members of the Hypoxix studio who I train who came to train with me partially because of my background in dance and also the integration of foot and arm patterns and that level of cognitive work within the practice. So there's many who have a high level of interest in using foot and arm patterning and ultimately dance for therapy and for cognitive enhancement. So it's so exciting. Thank you so much, Erica, for joining us today. This is such an honor. We learned so much. And please come and join us again. I want to train you. I want to train you on the Hypoxix method. If you'd be into it, like a 15-20 minute workout, I'll train you. Maybe you train me. I'll do, you give me one of your movement sessions and I'll give you a Hypoxix session.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm just appreciative for the opportunity. And I feel like, yeah, this is probably just the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to have another conversation with you. All right. Well, thank you, Erica, so much for joining us. Please visit her on her Instagram and please buy her new book that just came out. It's going to be incredibly informative. You just heard her speak. She's an incredible educator. I'm AG of hypoxix.org. That's .org. Please join me and all the Hypoxinauts at hypoxix.studio for live classes every week and sign up for the free 14-day program where you too can achieve inner altitude. Thank you, everyone.